Okay, you've seen this book everywhere, right? In airports, on your friend's coffee table, all over your Instagram feed. I'm talking about Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens. This thing isn't just a book, it's become a global phenomenon. So let's get into it. Let's try to figure out how this one book managed to be so incredibly loved and at the same time, so controversial. And when I say popular, that's a massive understatement. We're talking over 23 million copies sold worldwide. I mean, to put that into perspective, that's more than some absolute classics like The Grapes of Wrath. It's a mega bestseller in every sense of the word. But that's really only half the story. Right, because for every single person who calls this book a masterpiece, you'll find a whole chorus of critics, especially from the academic world, who are, let's just say, not impressed. This comment from a Reddit thread really nails the feeling a lot of experts have. Basically, they think the book plays pretty fast and loose with the facts. So that brings us to the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. How on earth did a single book become this global sensation that everybody's reading, while at the same time sparking this huge academic controversy? How can it be both things at once? Okay, so to really get why this book is so popular, we have to start with its one central blockbuster idea. Harari basically argues that we, Homo sapiens, conquered the entire world thanks to one very unique and frankly, kind of strange ability. He calls this our power to create and believe in what he calls imagined realities or fictions. Now, he's not saying these are lies, not exactly. They're things that don't physically exist, like you can't go out and touch them, but they are completely real to us because we all collectively agree that they are. So Harari basically splits the world in two. On one hand, you've got objective reality. Things you can see, touch, or get eaten by. Rivers, trees, lions, that kind of stuff. But then there's this imagined reality we all live in. Think about it. Money, laws, human rights, or even a corporation like Peugeot. You can't physically touch the company Peugeot, right? You can touch its cars, its factories, but the company itself, that's just a legal story, a powerful fiction that we all agree to believe in. And this is the crucial point. This is the whole ballgame for Harari. He argues that this superpower, our ability to believe in these shared stories, these myths like money or nations or gods, is what allows literally millions, even billions of strangers to cooperate with each other. No other animal can do this on such a massive and flexible scale. And for Harari, that is the secret to our success. But Harari doesn't just give us these big, fascinating ideas. He absolutely loves to smash conventional wisdom. And there is no better example of this than his take on one of the biggest turning points in all of human history. I mean, think about the agricultural revolution. We're all taught in school that this was it, the great leap forward for humanity, the moment we started farming. Harari? He sees it completely differently. He flat out calls it history's biggest fraud, a trap that we walked right into. And according to Sapiens, life for the average person actually got worse. The argument goes like this. Foragers had these varied, nutritious diets. They had better health, fewer epidemics. But the first farmers, they were stuck with back-breaking labor day in and day out, eating a monotonous diet of just wheat or rice. Their dense settlements became breeding grounds for disease, and they lived with this constant anxiety about whether their crops would fail. It was a rough deal. So you might be asking, what was the point then? Well, from a purely evolutionary perspective, farming was a slam dunk. It allowed for a massive population explosion. But, and this is Harari's really provocative claim, that success for the species as a whole came at a terrible cost, the happiness and well-being of the individual. A pretty tough trade-off when you think about it. Now, ideas like this are exactly what make the book so thought-provoking, right? But for many academics, these huge, sweeping claims are also its biggest flaw. This is the heart of the whole controversy. This quote from the anthropologist C.R. Hallpike really gets to the core of the academic pushback. He says Harari is in a philosophical muddle. Basically, Hallpike argues that Harari's whole idea of fiction is a mistake. Just because something like a law or a corporation isn't a physical object, he says, that doesn't make it a fiction in the same way that, say, Santa Claus is a fiction. It's a real thing, just a different kind of real. And if you dig into the reviews in academic forums, you see the same core complaints over and over again. The experts argue that Harari often presents his own speculation as if it's proven fact. They say the book lacks the kind of rigorous sourcing and footnotes you'd expect, and the big one, that it just grossly oversimplifies incredibly complex history, sometimes to the point of being factually wrong. Okay, let's look at a really specific example to see what they mean. Harari makes this big claim that foragers 30,000 years ago had the exact same intellectual and emotional abilities that we do. But critics immediately point to real-world evidence that complicates that, like the Paraha tribe in the Amazon. Anthropologists who studied them say they have no numbers for counting, no creation myths, and their whole worldview is pretty much confined to things they can immediately experience. That really challenges Harari's neat idea of a single, universal, cognitive revolution that suddenly made all sapiens think just like us. So, what are we left with? It's a real puzzle, isn't it? A book that millions of people absolutely love, but that many experts just dismiss. So what gives? Well, maybe the key is to ask a different question. What kind of book is Sapiens really? Let's actually hear from the author himself on this. Harari has said he doesn't see himself as writing some dense academic textbook just for other specialists. He sees his role as a bridge, translating these huge, complex ideas from all these different fields into one big, accessible story that anyone can get. And you know what? Maybe that's the best way to think about Sapiens. It's less of a perfect scientific footnoted paper and more of a grand unifying narrative. It's like, in a world where some of the traditional religious origin stories don't hold the same power for everyone, Sapiens comes along and offers a new one, an origin story for a secular world, one based in science and evolution that tells the story of all of us. Its real power isn't in the details, it's in the storytelling. Which leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to chew on. These big histories, books like Sapiens, they are incredibly powerful. But what's their ultimate effect? Are they essential stories that help us see our shared humanity, maybe even unite us to tackle big global problems? Or are they actually dangerous oversimplifications? Do they create that unity by smoothing over all the messy, complex, and contradictory parts of our past that actually make us who we are? That, I think, is a story that's still being written.